It's good to see you, boys and girls, here again on the sloppy road to Halloween. It's the season where we break down 10 iconic horror flicks to get you ready for October 31st. I tell you, one of the most difficult challenges of hosting a horror movie podcast is diversity. You want to make sure that you cover the movies that sit up top the horror throne, but I find it's just as necessary to show some love to the underrated gems, to bring some new fans to something they may enjoy forever. I also try to represent multiple directors, which in a niche genre can sometimes be difficult. But there are times in horror history where we as the fans have gotten luckier than we deserve. We get a film worked on by two iconic directors or writers. It's a rarity, but it does happen. See Poltergeist, for example. The movie we're covering today has two of the largest names in horror attached to it. Based off the 1979 novel written by Stephen King, directed by the Baron of Blood himself, Mr. David Cronenberg, and starring the one and only Christopher Walken, folks, I give you the 1983 horror thriller, The Dead Zone. In more recent years, scary movies have been heavily reliant on CGI and pop scares. Not to say that these aren't effective. I'm just here to tell you that there was a time when horror movies were heavily reliant on acting. And The Dead Zone is a prime example of this. This is a cheat day movie. It's a lazy Sunday movie. Another one of those stories that's so rich it should be served with a glass of milk, or a truck of milk in this case. Roller coasters, X-Men, and cowbells. We're leaving no stones unturned here. Boys and girls, I'm so excited to have you here on this one. Without any further introduction, here is our take on The Dead Zone. Welcome back to the Sloppy Horror Podcast. I am your host and your scary movie companion, Christian Ramey, and back again for another week, clapping them cheeks, the best producer in the whole wide world. I can't speak for everywhere else. I don't know if there's living creatures, but as of this planet, he's the best. I've searched around the earth. You know the beginning of The Exorcist, when he was going around like Iraq and shit, like digging up fossils. That's what I did to find Mark. He was freed. I had to free him out of stone, and
you rubbed my lamp.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie to you. He's my friend. Nobody else can have him. So I'm sorry. So, Mark, how you doing? We're back for another episode. Some more Stephen King.
We are back for another episode. That is correct, Christian Ramey, like we always are. And this is a very special episode, like they all are. This is another pit stop here on the sloppy road to Halloween, the best road that ever was. And you boys and girls should be excited depending on where you are in the world. But where we are right now, we are getting into shorts and hoodie weather, and it is fucking phenomenal.
That's nice.
It is phenomenal, okay? I woke up today with erection just to put my hoodie and shorts on in the morning. And I hope you woke up wet or erected as well. I hope you woke up extendo. But for those that don't know, who just randomly spirited into this episode, we are talking about a movie today. It's another Stephen King, Stephen King himself, adaptation, of course, and this is The Dead Zone.
Mark, before we move forward, did you see the recent news with Stephen King?
No.
Where he said his wife...
What?
His wife... He said in an interview at one point in his marriage, his wife threatened divorce because he wouldn't stop playing Mambo Number 5. I'm not joking. I'm not kidding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And he's probably not a great dancer, so... That's like
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody in the dagger, come on, let's ride to the liquor store around the corner. And that's about everybody knows.
You remember that weird time in the 90s, when swing came back and then ska music, and it was the combination of both? Yeah. And it was, I don't know, it was a strange song. We were alive for it. I can't say I probably haven't danced to it.
It killed it at weddings. It still does.
But Stephen King, obsession with that, divorce? How often?
This boggles my brain, but this is just recent news. You guys think I'm kidding? There are multiple articles. It was on CNN. CNN.
She was just looking at an excuse to get the money.
She's a great writer too. That's a fun family. If you guys look into them, they're so weird, but like he's so chill. Like he just goes like shopping, he just goes and gets a coffee like in his jeans, and like he's like, "Hi, I'm Stephen King." He just looks like a normal
Stephen
dude.
King does not look like a normal dude.
I'm saying like a normal old dude, like somebody you're not gonna pay attention to. Like he's got like $1 billion. Dude could be pulling up in a Lambo, he could be pulling up, or like in a cool hearse, or like just something, like even a big truck. He doesn't. He's just all humble, like
Pulls up in a Honda.
bro. He
Civic.
pulls up in a station wagon. Like, let's be real. He pulls up in like a fucking '92 fucking Taurus station wagon. Like just come. Hey, just come for the early morning lobsters.
I want 2 sugars in my coffee.
Mark.
Yep.
Now today we are talking, like you said, we're talking about the Dead Zone.
Dead Zone.
This is one, we're coming up on the 40th anniversary of it. Once October hits.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. I know. I can't speak for everybody, but older films, even 80s, even ones that are a couple years, like I'm 89, but even ones that are a couple years older than I am, it just reminds me of a time of being younger. Like, it's just a slower pace, and there's just something that you can't mimic. You can't mimic these kind of movies, but they're older movies, a lot of dialogue. I just enjoy them. It's a movie that's like a good, like, snowed in movie, or a good kind of like just a good old movies movie. I don't know else how to explain it, but
it's a great rich story, and those top most movies.
I agree.
If you're going for movies, if you have a top tier rich story, regardless of the genre, it's gonna last forever, because that's really what makes movies movies. I always remember I was watching an interview, some guy was talking about movies, and he said, when you lose your awareness of what's around you, and you're sucked into the movie does its job. This movie does that job, especially when you have great actors, top tier, Christopher Walken among others, suck you in. I was sucked into this movie as well. Now, when you get new movies coming out that have a lot of effects and jump scares and things like that, cool. Those are cool horror movies. Those are a fun time, but they're not gonna live on like these movies will.
I agree, man, because computer effects always change. You remember like playing Madden 99, or being like, this is the greatest graphics ever. Like playing
They're so real.
Oh, dude, when WWF Warzone came out, you're like, this is the best graphics ever envisioned. Now it's hard to even watch. Like, you could play it for nostalgia's sake, but like to actually, in comparison to like what the graphics are, it will always be better in the future. But acting is acting. Like, that's always going to be the same.
Yeah, acting is timeless.
For sure. And let's not deny, we got Christopher Walken here.
Oh, God damn it. I've been talking, like, every time I watch a Christopher Walken movie, I start doing my horrible impression of him for a while, and I cannot stop doing it.
What's fun about this movie, though, is this movie was before he got known for being, Christopher Walken.
Right.
Before he started, like, leaning into the persona that people loved so much. This was before the cowbell. This was before that. Now, he's still him, but I'm going to be honest with you. Now, Brooke Adams is in this movie. She's a great actress as well. She kind of plays this girl. I would have given the synopsis, but there's a lot of people who give stagey acting, and there is some really, we'll just say kind of cheesy or corny acting from some people's part. There's bad acting at points. I think that his parents, Johnny's parents, were horrible acting. His mom was just over the top. But Christopher Walken pulls it all together in this flick, because there are times where you're like, damn, man, you're feeling dude. He's suffering throughout this flick. And it's a movie that makes you forget Christopher Walken's Christopher Walken. Like, you're watching him as an actor versus, like, she's not just another notch in the belt, or like he's talking like the cowbell.
When this was the first time for me seeing this movie, naturally. But I recognized it immediately because of the South Park parody of Cartman. being a psychic with his cane and his robe, and he just envisions, he's looking for a murderer. So South Park spoofed it, but yeah, I was excited to see Christopher Walken, and then the first, portion of the movie, I'm still kind of laughing a little bit because it's Christopher Walken, but then he starts being just a normal actor. Still a little bit Christopher Walken, but he's normal acting like you said, and then, I got sucked into it and forgot that he was the Christopher Walken about halfway through the movie. He was Johnny to me.
He was, man. He did such a good job throughout this whole flick, and I'm going to give the people a synopsis if they're unfamiliar, and it's such a Stephen King story. But let's put ourselves in the time frame of what things were like in the late 70s and early 80s. Psychic shit was really big. So was Kung Fu, but mind reading. Like, you have to remember Carrie was a great hit for Stephen King, and it did so well because of the telekinesis. If you go back, there was a lot of people on talk shows that were, like, talking about, like, psychic stuff. That got really popular. So did, like, horoscopes and, like, zodiac kind of things. That was very...
Mood rings.
Yeah, 70s, 80s. People got really eclectic towards that. They were really trying to see through their third eye, if they will. And that was a really hot topic. So...
Hot topic.
For sure. But you can see... Because now, when you go back and watch these kind of things, or even like a Stranger Things kind of mimics it, or Firestarter, where there's like an organization, like a government organization that's like bad. Scanners, you remember Scanners, kind of the same principle of like a bad organization trying to stop a... Communism was scary. People were really afraid of people that were defying the government and like in some secret organization. So communism, and then, on top of that, psychic stuff. These were hot button issues for people. So that's why those movies took wind so well. But a little synopsis of this movie. We have a man. His name is Johnny. All right, his name is Johnny motherfucking Appleseed. No, his name's Johnny Smith. Very, unique name there. But he's played by Christopher Walken.
Johnny Smith.
And he has a little girl, not a little girl, but he's got his girlfriend. His name is Sarah, and they're pretty hot and heavy. They're pretty serious. They want to get married.
They go on a roller coaster.
For sure. But don't get too far ahead.
Sorry.
Don't get too far ahead. We're not there.
Sorry.
There's going to be a lot of laughs for that. We gotta go into that with a lot of laughter ready. Now, what happens is these two folks, Johnny and Sarah, they're teachers, and they're in love. And it's right at the kind of start of the relationship, before what the older folks would say, before they started going steady. It's just getting hot and heavy, but not steady yet.
Before they started bumping uglies.
Yeah. So here's what happened. And they might have been fucking, but it was still like secret.
No, they weren't fucking yet.
It was secret.
They weren't fucking yet.
Okay. Just over the clothes HJs?
Not even that.
Oh, that's bullshit.
I think they were like, I don't even know how to say it.
Cause she doesn't put out on the first date, leave her. Just kidding. All right, so number 2. So what they do is they go out, blow some steam. They do go on a roller coaster, which is a very funny scene that we're going to mark. This is where we found Christopher Walken, always had Christopher Walken in him. Now, what we said before is he's still like a young thespian, a young actor, a young person trying to like break his way. I mean, he was kind of established, but he wasn't, I need more cowbell. Like, he wasn't there yet. But when they were riding the roller coaster, this is the first time that you see that Johnny might have some kind of power to him, or some kind of, I'll explain more on that. But he's got something going on with him mentally, because when he's on the ride, he kind of like grabs his head, almost like Professor X used to do in the wheelchair, like he's thinking real hard. But before that, while he's having fun on the roller coaster, all you hear is, wow! Like, bro, I swear, if you're having a bad day, wow! Wow! Like, if you're having a bad day, put that on, and he is Christopher Walken screaming on a roller coaster. Like, enough said. Like, that should be enough said. And I don't know if, like, the world knows about that. I know the world laughs about Christopher Walken, but if I would have told you before, like, hey, man, there's a scene where he's riding a roller coaster, actually, and he's making noises. You're like, oh yeah.
Definitely, I would watch that on repeat.
Yeah, it's just funny.
Yeah.
So He like grabs his head, doesn't feel too hot, but they end up going back to her house. But he just kisses her on the porch, and he's like, look, I gotta go back home. I don't feel good. I need to rest up. Got shit going on. But it's a bad storm. Wicked storm. So what happens? He gets in a wreck on the way home.
I love how it's a milk truck.
I know, you think it's a gas truck the whole fucking time, don't you? Like, you think
And
it's...
then he hits the fucking... When he gets in the wreck and he hits the fucking tank, milk just comes pouring out. I'm sorry.
That milk's probably good as fuck, though.
Oh, dude, it looked good.
Just, like, cold as fuck in a steel
It looked
tank.
like old, like, classic milkman milk in a glass. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
straight up some, you know, some...
Santa's milk.
Some...
A glass of milk sounds better on Christmas Eve.
It does.
You're like, you're like, hey,
Oh, man, it does.
give me some of them cookies now.
Everything's better in a glass. Anyways, yeah, you hit some milk truck.
Yeah. And what happens is Johnny hits this milk truck. He has an accident. And then all of a sudden he wakes up in the hospital and he comes to realize, unbeknownst to him, he's been in a coma for 5 years. The doctor has to break it to him. He's like, look, you've been in a coma. I'm going to bring... Or he brings his parents in. They explain that he's been in a coma for 5 years. That's not... I mean, not no, 5 weeks, 5 days, 5 years.
That's a long time.
You know, I mean, that's a whole presidency plus a year.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's some time. He missed some shit. All right. So, when he wakes up, he finds out that his girl's married to somebody else. She has kids. He got castawayed, you know? He came back and found his girl with somebody else. That was the saddest part about that fucking movie. You're like, damn, bro. Like, but then he met that girl, and you're like, oh, he's about to be clapping all kinds of strange cheeks. All right, yeah, he gets it. He gets to run around. The Lord said, no, you need more cheeks. You haven't had enough cheeks. And you're like, thanks, Lord. Thanks, Lord. And Tom Hanks ended nice. And that's what happened in this situation. He finds out that his girl, has castawayed him. And he's got problems because as he's healing in the hospital, he's sweating in his sleep at one point. He's like resting up and he's sweating. Somebody needs to turn the thermostat down. My man's having some heat problems, heat flashes. So the nurse comes over, as old school nurses did. She's like wiping him down with the sponge, making sure he's okay. And he pops up. That's how I wake up every day. If anybody wakes me up, that's how I wake up. Just, I don't mean to. I just get really, I wake up quick. So that's what he does. And he stares this lady down and he grabs her hand. And when he grabs her hand, he gets like a fucking premonition. And he starts to trance out and he starts to see this little girl in a house that's burning. And he can find, and he knows her name is Amy. And he tells the nurse, Amy, she's in trouble. She's like, that's my daughter's name. She's like, the house is on fire. You need to get the fuck out of here and go save her.
I love how he yelled. He's like, go now.
Yeah. And she does. And the house is on fire. And then she's like, yo, I mean, like I said, psychic shit was really big at this time. So she's like, oh my goodness. They're thinking this dude's the second coming of Jesus. So they have like a little press conference. And the doctor dude who's taking care of him's like real protective of him. You get like almost bad vibes early in the movie. Like you're like, is this dude a bad guy? You almost like Scanners. You're like, this dude, I don't know who this dude is yet. Is this guy a good guy or a bad guy? But he ended up being a good guy, and he had his best interest at heart. And he's like, I don't know if you should do this interview, but he goes out there, and these people are prodding him like, why don't you show us an example of you looking into the future? And one dude was getting all fucking cocky, and he grabbed his arm, or he grabbed his hand, and he's like, why don't you let me tell you why your sister killed herself? Like he started getting personal and talking crazy, and dude's like, oh, let me go. He had to get out of there. So this guy, essentially, Christopher Walken, becomes an X-Men. All right? You know what this...
That's basically it, yeah.
You know what this movie reminds me of? You remember in Talladega Nights, he's like, well, sometimes... You remember when fucking John C. Reilly's character is like, well... Sometimes people get bumped in the head. Wake up with special powers, man. Read a comic book. Like, fuck.
There's a meme going right now, if you know anything about football, Tua Tagovailoa for the Giants, because he got a really bad head injury last year, and he just had an awesome week 1, so everybody's putting that to that.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. Read
So
a comic
fun.
book. Like, that's this exact feeling of this movie. And you don't question it. You're like, oh, yeah, dude, he went in a coma.
Yep.
Woke up with powers. It activated him.
Right.
I like how movie brains and things just work. Like, we just wish that was how something happened. Like, if your dude did that, you're like, yeah, man, he's got powers now. He fucking went into a coma. Well, eventually, Johnny gets known as this, like, kind of, almost like a little prophet. And he doesn't want it. He's, like, kind of becoming a recluse, but people are writing him letters and all kind of shit. They're like, is my grandma gonna live? They're asking him all kind of shit. And he doesn't like that responsibility, but he does like teaching. So he starts teaching some kids, and he gets back into that routine. And then there's this guy who essentially hires him. I like that this movie is paced like a book, and it doesn't give a shit about, like, because Stephen King writes that way. He has, like, different kind of, and it waves like that. But we have this other guy who hires him as a teacher for his kid. He gets close with the kid, and kid's actually about to go to a hockey game, and he says, the ice is going to break! And he's like, cancel the game. And the dad's like, fuck you, we're not canceling the game, whatever. He got pissed at him. He's like, I don't want you around my kid no more. He got, like, real shitty about it. Well, come to find out, the ice did break and 2 other kids drowned, but his boy wasn't on the ice, wasn't playing, so he didn't die. But that's what made Christopher Walken realize that there's a dead zone in his premonitions, that, like, it can be changed. He's seeing what's probably going to happen, but it can be changed, and that gave him hope. Well, that gives him a little bit of courage because he ends up meeting, which is fucking awesome. Martin Sheen is in this movie. I love Martin Sheen.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's such a great actor, and, like, for him to play a bad guy, because he's like him in The Departed. That's how I imagine he really is. Just like, no, come on in. My wife has supper. It's still on the stove. My boys at Notre Dame.
Yeah, when you can play both sides, good and bad, you're a good actor.
Now, I will say we would be a bad podcast if we didn't mention this. Mark, are we a political show on this?
No.
No, we're not a political show or care anything about that. I have no affiliation. I think if you argue blue, red, up, down, left,
I'm not even registered to vote.
Yeah, if you're left, right, red, blue, I don't give a shit. Everybody rock and roll. I love everyone.
Keep it to yourself, just like your religion, and everybody will be fine.
But what I will say, this movie was referenced a lot. Like when Trump started to come into office, and a lot of people were comparing Trump to this character that was in this movie. Excuse me. And the character was Greg Stilson. That's what, the character's name was, played by Martin Sheen. Mm-hmm. And which I'm not, like, here to agree or to say that they're similar or not. But this movie got a little bit of buzz. I remember back in 2016 when that first, like, political race happened, because it was like a guy who was like a man of the people, but he's like a, a loudmouth kind of character. But what ends up happening is that guy that Christopher Walken is watching the kid for, well, throughout all that, he knows that politician, and somehow he shakes hands with the politician, and he sees that bad things are going to happen if he gets into office. So he tries to stop it. He tries to assassinate him, and it kind of fails, but it ends up succeeding. He ends up giving his life for it.
In the funniest way, though.
For sure.
So he tries to assassinate him up on the upper deck with a rifle. He shoots and he misses.
Yeah, it's at like a political rally thing. They're like, picture the microphone.
Mm-hmm. So he shoots and he misses. So Greg Stilson grabs his girl's baby and starts using the baby as a shield to get away so he doesn't shoot him. I'm sorry. That's just funny. It's a movie, all right? Calm down. This guy's using a baby as a human shield, which is hilarious.
Yeah, so
then he ends up, Christopher Walken Johnny ends up getting shot, falls down, and he's dying. So then he grabs Greg's hand one more time just to see if it worked or if he succeeded. And he did, because word will get out, pictures will get out of him using that baby as a shield, and that will ruin his political career, and he ends up, he's had a vision of him killing himself with a pistol, so then he succeeded. Mm-hmm. So
it's a fun it's fun. It's such a Stephen King ending, such a cool story. Like, it's a unique story. Like I said, there's some that kind of like mash up in that time frame of late 70s, early 80s, of like these weird like government agencies that try to stop, a mutant. Fire starters. Even Stranger Things, like I said, copied it. It's just a common theme. Scanners and this. Those are just a couple. There's so many examples of government agencies. People were so fearful of that. And you got to remember Nixon too, lying to the people. So like in Deep Throat and all these things, like this big conspiracy shit. It was wild, and people didn't know how to handle all that, so they started making scary movies.
I love how they taught you about Deep Throat in school. I remember learning about Deep Throat
Yeah, yeah.
in like 7th grade.
That's probably why they did it. They're like, look, kids are gonna be taught deep throat for the rest of it. Yeah. Yep. Well, that makes it fun. That makes it historical.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite part of this movie, Christian Ramey? I'd love to hear your opinion on this.
All right. So
I always ask you this. I want to know.
So if I'm going favorite parts of this movie, I do like Christopher Walken. The funniest part's the roller coaster to me. But if we're saying a part that I really enjoyed, that I found like really just a good piece of filmmaking back and forth, a good 8-minute segment. So as you alluded to, they start to a police officer. I didn't mention that in the synopsis, but a police officer also comes out, and I think that's the boy that was in Poltergeist 3, the really kissy dad, or like the kissy uncle. Wasn't that him?
I think so.
You remember he ends up becoming like a skeleton with a mustache still?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But he comes and he's like, I need your help because you can like, and that was a thing, man. We need your psychic help to try to find a bad guy. Well, he helps him out. At first he didn't want to, but then he does. And he finds out that one of the killers is one of the sheriffs that's on, like it's one of the sheriffs. And they go to this gazebo and they're there. I think they're there at nighttime, right? And they see a body, but then he's like reliving the scene and it's daytime and it's like covered in snow. And it looks so fucking cool the way that they played it out because he's living in the scene while in the gazebo while the other people are still there. Mm-hmm. It's just really cool. But then it goes from there to them going to get the other sheriff and arrest him. And then he has offed himself in the bathroom, but it's just such a fucking a gruesome way.
He offed himself in the worst way possible.
With scissors.
Yeah. He took scissors, like propped him up on the edge of a bathtub and just lined up his head. And it doesn't show it, but they show you how he's going to do it. So basically he's just going to full force his own head into these scissors. Nope. I'm not killing myself that way. I'm sorry. That's intense.
Yeah, bro. Are we camping? Because this is intense. Yeah, dude, that's too much. But that little sequence or scene, that's just a good piece of filmmaking. Like that could be a little short movie in itself. You can just take that clip, post it, no context. You know how like on TikTok you can find like damn near half a movie, like part 6, part 7. You get caught up watching a movie you ain't never seen. Like, what is this movie?
Yeah.
This is how you can get a minute, that scene.
Right, absolutely.
Mark, what would your favorite part of this movie be?
I'm just going to tell you what the part that made me laugh the most. That's usually what I do. But this is a very Christopher Walken moment. It's not the roller coaster scene, but it's a scene where he is outside and he's learning to walk again with his crutches. And his girl comes out of the house. Okay? And she goes to Johnny. She goes, Johnny, you're like, they told me you were outside. And he just goes, I am.
I am.
That's it.
I know.
I heard you were outside. I am.
Bro, can we talk about, too, like, I mean, the late 80s end up having some radical hair, but the early 80s had some of the worst haircuts in the motherfucking world, dog. Like, they were the worst. Like, we're talking Josh Hartnett level of haircuts here.
Dude, Christopher Walken had my grandma's haircut.
Dude, that first haircut was bad. Now, he came back with, like, why did they not moisturize anything? They used no lotion, and they, like, never moisturized their hair. It looked like they washed their hair with a bar of soap. You know what I'm saying? Like, just a bar of soap in their hair, and then they just brushed it back, like.
Y'all never heard of conditioner?
Bro, right? Like
Head and Shoulders.
Something, dog. Like, there was no moisture in their hair, so it was just like big and like it was intense, and that was just cool. That was a cool thing, but the bangs were weird. But you know what Christopher Walken's haircut is? I mean, we're gonna make this a clip. We're gonna make this little clip. You hear me? Christopher Walken's hair in The Dead Zone, that first haircut, it's the same exact haircut as Chucky and Tiffany's kid, Glinda. Like the puppet that they had, their baby.
Yeah.
They had the same fucking haircut, dude. Side by side them, it's the same cut. It's so bad, and I can't see it any other way. It's not good. Are you going to put that clip together right now?
I guess.
No, I can do it. I can do it.
You do it. I don't even know what you're talking about, so just you do it.
Chucky.
You do it. I'll do something else.
Look. You need to know what I'm talking about, okay? Because once you've seen a seed of Chucky.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I have. Have I? Yes, yeah, I have. Pretty sure I have. Confident I have.
Bro.
What?
That's the fucking haircut he had right there. That fucking
Put it up to the camera so they see.
That's the fucking haircut this little dude had. And it's just hard because he had glasses. Now he came back with the comb back grandpa cut, and like that was more normal. That's what I was used to all our grandpas and shit looking like when we were younger.
Right.
But that first one was a hard go, and then his girls cut too. Them bangs were weird, but whatever. You know, I won't pontificate on that
Look,
too.
that's a style, different decade, different style.
Should we use lotion? For what? For what? I want to look like a alligator when I'm old.
Bill Burr is the thing. White people don't know about lotion. He's like, it's used more than just your dick.
Yeah, bro, you need lotion.
It's like, you ever wonder why you're ashy and your dick is glistening? You need lotion.
He knows about lotion because he's a ginger. He knows. He knows the struggles.
Lotion.
Now, you know a thing that I can really say, it is a 40-year-old movie, and you can see that it's old, but it's not for a lack of interest. You could watch it. I mean, I don't know. Were you entertained throughout the whole thing?
Absolutely.
It's not too long. It's not too crazy.
No, it's a little bit, it's like an hour and 40 minutes, I believe. Mm-hmm. It's just a rich story, okay? Now, like most rich stories, it takes a second to get going. Once it gets going, once you get into it, but it's just rich in dialogue, it's rich in acting, it's no special effects, except for like fake gunshots. That's about it. Okay, so it's just a rich story. So you got to be in the mood to watch that kind of movie. All right, now if you're looking for high-paced action, if you're looking for hardcore horror, if you're looking for guts and all that shit, not going to be the cup of tea right now. But
no, and this one's like a tad suspenseful. It's got like the drama, like the cop drama, suspenseful Sherlock Holmesy feel.
Yeah, but it's just a great story. But we got to find out more things about this movie though, because it's that time.
Ruh-roh.
Welcome to the What Do You Know here. This is a segment here where we're here to tell you something that you may or may not know about this movie. Now, if this is your first time here, this is how it's going to work. We're going to tell you things we know about this movie. Now, you may know what we know, you may not know what we know, but if you know what we know, you're going to have a wee orgasm. If you don't know what we know, you better find out what we know, and you're going to have a wee orgasm too. Everybody is taken care of. We're brushing the dust off. Everybody is going to be lubed up and ready to slide right in wherever it is you're going to go. Slip and slide, baby, take a ride, I'ma slip and slide. That's what's gonna fucking happen to you and this ween-orgasm that's about to go right up in your cornhole. So why don't you tell me something that you may or may not know me about this movie, The Dead Zone?
You know, I read things. I'm an educated man. I try to read things,
You reap things?
Yeah, I'll read things.
Read.
Yeah, the newspaper, books, articles, I try to read all sorts of things.
Back of shampoo bottles.
Sure, I read the back of a cereal box. Those are fun games on the back of there. You
Yeah.
ever do those?
The mazes are too easy.
Yeah, they're too easy, but sometimes, they got the letters and the numbers, the crosswords. It's enough to get you through breakfast.
Sure.
Okay, but that being said, I tell you what I saw. I saw, when I was reading about this movie, obviously, we're dealing with a movie written by Stephen King, directed by fucking David Cronenberg. I mean, we've mentioned Scanners a lot in this movie, so obviously he did Scanners.
Man's a legend.
Yeah, and The Fly. I mean, he's all about body horror.
The Fly.
The Fly.
The Fly.
It's a... Man, we've already got it for that movie.
Yeah.
The Fly.
Focus on your fact.
So here's what David Cronenberg did, and this was a weird thing that directors did back in these days. This was kind of a weird trend. But Christopher Walken, his character Johnny, there's times where he had to flinch really quick.
Sure.
And like focus on something else.
Yeah.
So Cronenberg was firing off blanks of 357 magnums in the air to get a reaction out of him.
That's genius.
Yeah, I mean, it would scare the shit out of anybody.
Yeah,
You're not expecting it.
Oh, yeah.
Boom. That's a loud thing to scare you.
It is. I like that fact. That's a very good fact.
Now let me ask you something. Do you know any kind of special facts about the dead zone?
I guess I do.
Okay.
So, you know, early in the movie, when he first has his first vision, okay, he envisions that girl in a burning house.
Whoa.
Now, they filmed the whole thing first time. But the problem is they got in trouble. Universal threatened them. Why? Because in the original footage, they had an E.T. doll in there.
Can't do that.
And they were like, no,
Can't
that's
do
our
that.
stuff. That's our stuff. You can't have it. You got to get it out of there.
You can't have
You
ET.
got to get it out of there. So they had to reshoot the whole thing.
That's another movie with the agency, the government agency.
Yeah, that's a conspiracy if you're asking me. So they had an E.T. doll in there, and they filmed the whole thing. What a waste of money. Somebody was not. I picture like Tropic Thunder, the guy who's in charge punching him in the face by the key grip. So,
that's-
you know, they had to reshoot the thing.
That's intense.
That's intense. That's what I know. Do you know anything else?
You know, I don't think I know anything. I think those are two big facts, and I think people that like the dead zone might not have known these facts. You
No,
know?
absolutely not. Two's all you need, though.
I didn't
Two's
know.
all you need.
Yeah, E.T. I didn't know that before today, so that's cool.
I didn't know that either. Wait, I did know that. I didn't know your fact.
Yeah, the gunfire and shooting people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he did.
That's what he did and what it do for
Well,
you.
I feel like the folks are educated now.
They're good, you know. We come in, we do a job, you know. They pay us a little bit of money, you know. They pay for the time, then we go. So we're gonna go right now.
Mark, I have a question.
Beautiful.
My question is, now here's a movie with a lot of different characters, and some of them have funny quirks. So it's okay if Christopher Walken and Johnny is your favorite character, but I want to know who is your favorite character, and if it is Johnny, who's your second favorite then? Because there's some really funny ones. What's the doctor's last name in this movie? He was a funny character too. We haven't talked about that premonition, but I would like to get into that after your, who the fuck you like. What character cracked you up?
Trying to crack me up. Trying to think of all the characters that were in it.
So obviously we've got the sheriff, we
I
got the lady.
I liked the political guy's little bodyguard sidekick goon.
Yeah, like the vice president guy.
Yeah.
He was cool. Yeah, he was
Always
cool.
roughing people up.
The doctor's name was Weezak. I like when he woke him up and he says, "I'm Dr. Weezak." And he was like, "Who the fuck are
Dude,
you,
he
bro?"
talked legit, though. I loved the way he talked. Like, you've been a coma for this long.
I trust him.
Yeah, if somebody talked like that, trust him automatically.
He's like a doctor that light a cig in his office. You're like, "I trust you, doc."
Isn't it crazy that doctors used to do that?
Yeah, but you trust him. You're like, what cigs are you smoking? I want to smoke those. Those are
Right.
doctory cigs. Those are the doctors. Those cigarettes my doctor smoke. I thought that was kind of cool with that. But he was the first vision that Johnny got when he touched him. He touched his arm and he saw the doctor's past. And what had happened was it showed the doctor as a little boy and like Poland and like war-torn Poland. And it shows, I want to say it's Poland, but and it shows like the German troops fighting and taking over their town. And it shows the little boy being given to somebody else to be able to be freed and rescued. And obviously he's freed because he's an adult now and America is a doctor. But he sees his mom like as a young age. And then like once he comes out of the premonition, Johnny's like, "Yeah, your mom's alive. I know where she lives, what's going on." And he's like, "That's impossible."
Yeah, that is impossible. You know why? Because this doctor is like, what, 60 years old? 50, 60 years old?
They had babies young, 18.
Doesn't matter. Okay, this guy's like 50, 60 years old. And when his mom comes to the phone, she don't sound like a 70, 80-year-old lady.
Yeah, true.
Okay? Come on.
That's true.
Come on.
That's true.
Now, and that's a little bit far-fetched for me, but I'll go with the fantasy. Whatever. It's part of the story.
Yeah, they should have did the voice better, but I liked that aspect. It was cool. I mean, I liked how there was like history into it. It wasn't just like...
Yeah, it wasn't future. Sometimes he had past stuff, too.
Yeah.
So you switched it up a little bit.
I thought that was kind of neat, and it wasn't all just like... It wasn't all just political. Like, the movie wasn't just all political. Like, it had, like, one political one, and then it had some where he was saving kids. And then some, you know, and others where it's like, yo, I saw your past. Just very interesting in his, you know, mutant powers. Now, here's a little sidetrack here. A little sidebar. Now, I know you were probably into comic book shit growing up. Did you have a favorite X-Man by chance? I didn't know if you were really into them at all. If there was one.
Not really, but I knew Nightcrawler.
Yeah, he's pretty fucking sweet.
Just because of the teleportation thing. I'm sorry. If that'd be my top power to pick would be teleportation.
I liked a few, dog. I liked a few. So I definitely liked Cable. I liked Gambit, you know, throwing cards. You remember Gambit? He threw cards. He was badass. I like Bishop. I like fucking Cyclops. He was cool. Cyclops. I mean, he had the thing, you know, with the laser vision. That's just cool, man. That's just cool. Yeah. I don't care what you say. I hate when people try to get. It doesn't have to be everything you watch. But when people act too good, they're like, "What are you guys watching? King Kong versus Godzilla? Why would you watch that? It's a giant monkey fighting a dinosaur. Like,
why would you not watch that?
Yeah, like, I'm not saying this is the coolest thing ever, but I'm just saying, it's a giant monkey fighting a fucking dinosaur. What's wrong with you? Of course I want to see that. I definitely would like to see that. And even if it's not the whole thing, if I catch it, it's going to stop me.
Oh, yeah.
Some things are just simple. You're like, oh, is that a T-Rex?
Hey, do you want to see this grown? Do you still want to see this grown man jump 40 buses on a dirt bike? Yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah, I kind of do, man.
Yeah, it's just those things.
Yep, it just works that way. I don't make the rules. I'm just out here living by them.
Let me ask you this. If you woke up after a 5-year coma and you had this power, would you enjoy it or would you try to suppress it and ignore it?
There's going to be times in it, because especially if it's just touching. You're going to be touching, I mean, I don't touch a lot of people, but, like, you know, you're going to be banging some people. So you're going to be, you know, you might almost want to be fucking, like, some of the few people. Like, you know, you don't want to go all out, because every time you touch somebody new, it's going to be, like, crazy. So you might have to settle down, but you could lay low. But what you can do is you can go to a lot of sports practices and wait for autographs and shit. And you're like, oh, thanks, man. I love you so much, Joe Burrow. Like, thanks so much, buddy. It gives you a high five. And then you see what's about to happen. You can make sports bets, okay? So you could make I would use it to my advantage trying to make sports bets. That's it. You know, and it's still not a guaranteed win. I mean, maybe sometimes you'll get that premonition where it's the fourth quarter and, like, you get the final score and everything, and, like, you can get it all. But a lot of times you might not. You just might see him slip and fall and hurt himself. You might see Aaron Rodgers' injury pretense, and you're like, ooh, I'm going to hop on that. Well, you might get fucked with that because you'd bet them to lose and they win, but you never know. So I would try to find a way to use it to capitalize and live a comfortable life, okay? Be the best weatherman that's ever lived. Just like every day, like, I'm 10 for 10. I'm 11 for 11, bitch. Like,
take Al Roker's job.
Yeah, dude, like, it'll be after time, like, look, bitch, I'm 1,000 for 1,000. I'm batting 1,000.
Well, the problem was you can't do it too often, though, because they say that it's been documented before in a movie of the same psychological thing. It takes a toll on your body and it kills you.
Just like Seven from Stranger Things. Just like, I mean, it's like it's all that, like, this was like a weird subgenre of thing that was popular, and it even went into comic books.
Yeah.
And I like it.
I'd rather figure out a way to figure out what the lottery is. I don't want to use it on sports because that'd kind of ruin the whole fun of sports. Do you know the outcome?
Okay, maybe not to the games you like.
No, that's true. Okay, yeah, I don't care about other games.
Yep. It'd probably be a lot more easily accessible to see college teams practice.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay.
So that's how I would go about that. But you'd probably end up helping people naturally just because you would
That's human instinct. Most people can't help it.
Yeah, well, you can just like, you'll see somebody like, hey, how are you? Tap their back, see they're about to get hit by a bus in 15 minutes, and you're like, wait a minute. Stay right here.
Yeah.
Why? Just trust me, bro.
I would just punch him in the face. Like, you're not going anywhere. You'll thank me later.
Why didn't you just tell me? Yeah, I'm sorry. This is how I do it, man.
Like, nobody's going to believe you. If somebody came up and told you that what's about to happen to you, you're not going to fucking believe them.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, you ain't going to believe them. So
It'd be the past thing that would fuck you up, man. Like, if somebody came up and they started, like, going in about your past, you'd be like, who are you?
right.
What are you about? Now, that would freak me out. What if they're like, I'm a ghost? You're like, dog, you got to get out of here. I'm a ghost. What are the lottery numbers and who's winning tonight's game, bro?
Exactly.
Be
Prove
useful.
That. Yeah.
Be useful tonight.
Be fucking useful. You can haunt my house all you want. We can have a bigger house if you just help me out.
I'm going to make 10 10-leg parlays, and you're going to fucking help me get all of them. And if you do, whatever you want, man.
Yep.
You need me to find an amulet? You need me to dig up a grave? Well, I got you.
Yeah, what do you need?
Just help me get this.
Need help crossing over, whatever.
Bro, you get 10 10-leg parlays, all at $10 a piece. I mean, you probably fuck around and make $150,000-$200,000.
Yep. Renting a strip club out for a night. Getting all my boys taken care of. Mm-hmm. And the girls, too. Whatever. I don't care.
Everybody's got to
Everybody's invited.
Everybody's got to live. You're feeding their kids.
Absolutely. So
I see you, sea skies. Here you go.
So let's go through another portal to another realm to another world and rate this movie, The Dead Zone.
Rate?
Sloppy horror rating, baby, yeah! Hell yeah! Welcome to the Sloppy Horror Podcast rating now. You boys and gentlemen, girls and boys, and everybody in between, depending on what you got going on down there. We're about to rate this movie, The Dead Zone, on the Sloppy Horror Podcast rating system. Now, keep in mind, this is for a horror movie rating, not a movie in general. It's developed by Christian Rainey himself, your very scary movie companion. Okay? What the fuck was that? It's done in a series of 4 categories. 3 of the categories are worth 3 points. Last category is worth 1 point for a total of
10 points altogether.
100% correct. As you always are, you are 107 for 107. I think that's how many episodes we got. I don't know. I think it's over that. I don't fucking know. I lost track years ago. So let's get into this bitch and let's do the first category here in the Sloppy Horror Podcast rating, and that is casting.
Feeling a solid 2.5. I feel like this is like one of those 2.5s. It's like almost perfect. There's a couple people that are lacking, like his parents, like that were like a little cheese. But fucking Christopher Walken, I just want to read this again because there are a lot of familiar faces. But you got Christopher Walken, Martin Sheen, you got Tom Skerritt, dude from Top Gun and Poltergeist 3, Brooke Adams. I mean, there's just a lot of great people in this movie. So I'm going to go 2.5. I feel that's strong enough. It's almost perfect. It's almost there. A very nice finish, but just not quite there.
Yeah, there are a few weak links in that, but again, you can tell it's great actors because the entire movie is all acting. All acting. So you got to have good casting for that, or else it won't work.
I feel like this is one of them flicks, like you walk in a room when other people are watching, like if you didn't know, you're like, what are you watching? Like you could just like fall in and get sucked in like right away.
Absolutely.
One of them kind of things.
So that's 2.5 so far here on the Sloppy Horror Podcast rating. Let's get into the second category here in the Sloppy Horror Podcast rating, and that is kills.
I mean, I'm feeling like a 0.5 point, right? Like a half or a 1. I mean, there's a couple. The scissors kill is kind of brutal. The gazebo kill. Obviously, he got shot. I don't know. It should be a 1. It should be a 1.
No, it's not a 1. It's a 0.5 point.
Okay.
It's a 0.5 point because two of those deaths that you're just talking about are off screen.
Yeah.
And Christopher Walken just gets shot.
Yeah, it's true.
So, I mean, 0.5 point. It's very basic. There's some death in there. Most of it's not on screen. The only on-screen one is a shot. Now, it's a devastating kill, but it's just a normal TV kill. Mm-hmm. It's a story kill. It's not a kill for the kill. It's a story kill.
Yeah.
But we're in there. So that's 3 so far here on the Sloppy Horror Podcast rating. Let's get to the final 3-point category here in the Sloppy Horror Podcast rating, and that's fear.
It's going to be another 0.5 pointer. It's not scary. It's a very rich story. It's a lot of fun. There's a little suspense in there. There's a little whodunit. You know, you're trying to figure out what's going on. It keeps you on the edge of your seat, but you're not fearful at all in this movie. So we got to give it something like a half a point because it's enough to.
There's the suspense in it will give it up to a half a point.
Yes,
Barely, but it will give it.
Suspense and murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's favorite cup of tea. So that is 3.5 so far here on a Sloppy Horror Podcast rating. Let's get into the last final 1 point category for half a point each here on a Sloppy Horror Podcast rating, and that is rewatchability.
Yep, this is a watchability I throw on towards Halloween. Also the wintertime. I'm seasonal with my horror movies, and this just falls fall and winter flick for me.
Yeah, it's a good indoor snowy day type movie. It's in that category for sure, and like you said, it's a good September movie, leading you up to October. I think that'll start getting your juices flowing. Good little entry.
One of the most joyous things too is like if you actually have somebody that's like willing to like watch a movie with you or have some kind of marathon. If somebody's like, we're having a Godfather marathon, we're gonna eat good all day and fucking drink whatever. I'm like, cool, that's a fun thing. I like that people do that. If people were on the train of like, I don't know much about Stephen King outside of the big ones. Stephen King is not just super scary horror writer. It's not just The Shining and It and Pet Sematary. I mean, it branches out, man. You got Stand By Me. You got kids finding dead bodies by the train. You've got movies like this. He's got a wide array of just imagination. So I know movies that he's done that aren't all the way horror, but I'm still going to cover them because I enjoy them. And he's one of these people, he's the most prolific writer of all time. Like, I mean, who do you think of, like, when you think of, like, the most famous authors of all time? Like, Shakespeare? Like, Shakespeare would be, like, the name. Could you name me 3 Shakespeare stories? I mean, some people can. Some people can.
I don't know.
I can't I mean, I feel like 3 would be about all I could name you. But I can name probably a couple more than 3, but I'm just saying it's Shakespeare. And Stephen King is the most prolific writer. He's got over 80 titles that have been turned into movies. I mean, the dude... It's incredible. It's going to be one of those things when that guy dies, it's going to be very monumental, and there's going to be a crazy documentary. There's going to be... I don't think people are going to realize how good we got it until he's gone.
Absolutely.
Because we've always had him.
Now, before you go on any further, I got to put the fucking graphic on the screen.
Oh, okay.
So that is 4.5 out of 10 for The Dead Zone here on the Sloppy Horror Podcast, right back up in your ass. Solid score for it being in a horror movie category. I thought it would score lower, but did pretty good. Mm-hmm. So, sorry. Had to get out of the way.
Oh, no.
Continue, please. Continue, please.
No.
Continue, please.
I will continue. I'm going to continue to tell these folks that they should be appreciative that they made it through this whole fucking episode.
Here we go.
This whole episode with how many advertisements? 0. That's right, none. You know why? Because we're not sellouts. And what we do is we work hard for our money. We work hard for it, honey. You know,
hard for the money, baby.
You know what I'm talking about. Folks, if you're looking for a fun way to support the show, and also, fun little spoiler, if you don't follow us on our socials, I guess you wouldn't know that we're making some horror movies. I mean, we've got people casted. We're rolling, baby. We're in pre-production. We're super fucking excited. And if you want to support that, you have to, number one, be subscribed to the YouTube because it's completely for free. All you have to do is make a YouTube account if you don't have one. That takes an email address. It's free to do, and it means the world to us, and it helps us out big time. But you'll also have access to all of our video episodes. And number 2, you'll have access to all of our horror films. Number 2, if you're looking for a way, hey, I need a little bit more to help out the show, well, that's fine. We run a Patreon. We even have a $1 tip jar on there. Now, that $1 tip jar doesn't give you access to the episodes, but it definitely goes towards helping us keep the lights on around here. But just for $3 a month, you can get every bonus episode. Check it out. Patreon.com/sloppyhorror.
Do it.
If you guys like to have fresh merchandise, you know, we're going into the cold time. Everybody wants a comfy hoodie. Everybody needs to, 2 hoodies because usually a lady will steal yours or you leave it somewhere. So what you got to do is go look in the links, go look at our description of all of our videos or our audio episodes. You will find a link for our merchandise. Go check that out. We've worked hard at that, and that helps support the show. So guys, we can't do this without you. But what we can do is provide you non-watered down content week after week. And as you could see, I mean, I'm not going to touch them because that's a little weird, but we're not on a Zoom call. We have worked very hard and spent a lot of money to make sure that this show sounds good, okay? We're not going to sound shitty. We're not going to do that. And we don't have... We're cocky, guys, but we're not that cocky where we're going to turn on monetization for shitty advertisements for our show. No, sir.
This is our show.
Yeah.
We do what we want.
Yeah.
We won't do what you think we're gonna do.
We're not gonna take it.
Ba-bum-bum.
We're not. We're not gonna do that stuff. So
Anymore. So yeah, do all that fucking stuff that he just said.
yeah, we need your help. Make sure that you're following us all over.
Help me please, help me please.
Our goal is to be at 10,000 YouTube subscribers by 2024, and we're at a great pace right now. We are climbing big time. We've been going up by the hundreds and hundreds last month.
Moving on up, moving on up.
So we need your guys' help. Tell your friends, tell everybody. All right. So do yourself a favor. You know, we're giving you guys some free content. Help us out.
Yeah.
Send us a nipple. Send us a subscribe. You know, whatever, however you want to help the show.
Yeah, do that. Anything helps. So do that.
Mm-hmm.
Do that. Do that. Do that. Do that.
And then eventually, one of the beauties that we have with this show and our statistics and the internet and technology, we can see where all you boys and girls are listening from. And eventually, we will take this show on the road. We will have episodes that are recorded on the road. We will rent out some venues, and we will sell some tickets. We see who our big cities are. We see who you are. Chicago's always, like, right up there.
Chicago.
Seattle's always really big.
Seattle.
Yep, we got people down in Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
Hold on. Mark, I want to give a proper shout-out to the cities.
Give a proper shout-out to all the cities. Give them.
Well,
Will your city be named?
Let's see. Let's see who our top 5 is currently, really
Top
quick.
5. Top 5 cities.
Top 5 top flight security in the world, Craig.
Yeah. Name them.
All right, so I'm pulling it up.
Pull it up. Pull it up.
So, last 5 episodes or last 10?
I don't know. I don't care.
Tell me.
5.
Last 5 episodes.
Uh-huh.
Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago.
Number 2. Hometown, Cincinnati, Ohio.
Represent.
Number 3. Clarksville, Tennessee.
Ooh, Clarksville, Tennessee.
Number 4. Frankfort, Kentucky.
Frankfort, huh?
Uh-huh. Number 5. Indianapolis, Indiana.
Indianapolis. I love Indianapolis.
I was just out there for convention. Maybe passing out cards helped out.
Thank God.
Number 6. Tucker, Georgia.
Tucker, Georgia.
Number 7. Hermitage, Pennsylvania.
What?
Hermitage.
Hermal
Nips, Pennsylvania.
Her normal Nips, Pennsylvania.
New York is next.
New York. I wonder why.
Jacksonville, Florida's next.
I thought we already said Jacksonville, Florida.
I said that before I read the list.
Oh, stupid ass.
And then the last one on there, Pennsylvania. Guess the city.
I don't know.
They just won.
What? Pittsburgh?
No, they just won. They're better. They're the better team of Pennsylvania right now.
Oh. I don't know.
They've got the most annoying fans, and they fly. It's always sunny there.
Oh, Philadelphia. Philadelphia!
Yeah. Yep.
Philly.
Yep.
You got good cheesesteaks.
They don't, they call them hoagies.
Whatever.
And then, Rocky's there. He's listening to us right now.
Yep, they got a statue.
I'm just a fighter, I just listen to your show.
I like horror, and you guys do good with the show.
I just like the fun. I like scary.
So those are just some of the few cities. If your city did not make the list, fucking step your game up and make your city a top 10 city.
Yeah, so that way, by the time we do pull the trigger and we rent out some venues...
Guess where we're going to the top 10 cities?
We're coming to your town.
Absolutely.
We might start with the top 5 so we can make adventurous for us. So you better get to the top 5. I'm challenging you.
Now, that would be sexy. Now,
Yeah.
what can we expect on the next episode here of the Sloppy Horror Podcast? What's a clue to where we are stopping next on this sloppy road?
Well, I got to go back up to our list here. Okay, Did I fuck up the order here?
I don't know. Probably.
Did we Did we do one with an animal?
No.
Okay.
So that's the next one? What's the hint of it?
Okay, I just watched it recently. No, we did. We already did that one.
Which one?
Cujo.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we did.
No, we have not.
Oh, yeah.
You stupid ass. Well, there you go. That's your hint. The next hint for the next episode
You know what
is
fucked
Cujo.
me up?
What?
You know what fucked me up?
What?
We just did The Howling.
Yeah.
And I was thinking D. Wallace. And
Right.
D. Wallace is great in this. So, it's another Stephen King. We're back-to-back Stephen Kinging you. I don't give a shit. Now, we're not going to tell you all the fun, funky details. We'll find a way to surprise you. You wait till you see what Ozark's wearing next week. You don't know. You know, I almost iced you. If they would have had a big ice, you know, I was thinking about it. Like, because I went down to get us some drinks down there. I was like, oh, if they got one of those big things, I'm going to be like, Mark, I got you a present because you told me you'd never been iced. Now I can't do it, but I was like, you know.
I'm not going to do it if you try. I'm be like, no, I'm not doing that.
Well, I know, but it'd be fine. For the show, you probably would have. For me, you would not have. But for the
No.
show, you would have. You would have been like, you motherfucker. And
No,
then
I wouldn't.
It would have
You
been
guys,
a funny.
No, you guys can kiss my ass. Give me something else. I love you. Don't get me wrong. I love you, but you know, go fuck yourself.
Zima.
Well, that's great. Well, you got the easiest hint in the world for what's in store next week. I hope you enjoyed this movie. I hope.
Hold on. We can switch it. We can flip flop it and then throw that one. They won't know when it's coming.
Okay, fine. Whatever. Just remember this, or we hurry up. You got a minute left.
Okay. The next movie that we'll cover next week is a sequel. Okay. And this is a sequel from a horror director who happens to be making a Thanksgiving movie that just dropped the trailer for. So
Okay.
there's a horror Thanksgiving movie out.
Well,
And there's a director who made it, and it's
Well-
a sequel that he's made.
Well, let's see if you can get it. Let's see if you can get it. In the meantime, boys and girls, keep your butthole loose because we're coming with plenty of more entertainment for it to sham it right up in there.
Keep it gaping.
That's it. Goodbye. Keep it gaping.